Yeah, so good afternoon. We have audience from India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Maybe some other countries also, because we publicized it in the South Asian region. And this is 2021 webinar series by Society of Entrepreneurship Educators. This is a kind of interest group of educators, incubation professionals, investors, sometimes research scholars, researchers as well, and which comes and discuss different themes about entrepreneurship and try to work together to make entrepreneurship education meaningful, which is beneficial to the society, which is impactful, and also which is aspirational. So the entire purpose of this forum is to bring that together, and we pool our resources. So we thank ISECT Group, and we also thank AIC RNTU Bhopal, who have consented to host this session. This is the first session of 2021. I think I'm talking about the season actually. This is the season. We had a series 2020 and 2021, which have ended sometime in February, March. Because of this COVID second wave, we kind of took a halt. We thought that people are struggling hard. So we took a halt and we thought that now situation is slightly eased out. So we will restart. So we are very happy that today we have our friend Hasmukh again. And Hasmukh was with us on 12th June 2020 in one of the sessions, along with his colleague Kaudeji, and Dr. Premnath was also there. So we had a wonderful session. And we thought that there cannot be a better session to start with when we talk about MyLab discoveries, yet another innovation which is creating impact. And we thought that it will be good to start the session with Hasmukh's address to us. I also welcome Mr. Siddharth Chaturvedi. Siddharthji is the Vice President of ISECT Group, and also he's one of the directors of Atal Incubation Center of RNTU, which is one of the new age incubators, technology incubators in the country, in the central part of the India. And all of us know that ISECT has done meaningful work in skilling. And as I was discussing a few minutes before with Hasmukh, that ISECT has been engaged in skilling long back, more than 3 decades, if I can assess the numbers. That time, skilling was never so glamorous, if I put it in that way. Skilling was not a popular subject to talk about. And I think skilling, at the most, skilling would start and end with ITIs. That's it. So that's probably was the concept prevailing. And we have seen ISECT steadily working, growing the field, redefining the skilling the needs, and across the country, all major states in northern India. And I've seen many of their offices in not only in Bhopal, but in Chhattisgarh, including the places like Kaker. And ISECT has been very supportive to help us to work on National Entrepreneurship Award. So we have seen their setups, we have seen their meaningful work. So we feel happy that ISECT and Siddharthji's team has come together to host this session. So Siddharthji, we request you to kindly give your opening remark, and then we'll hand over the session to Hasmukh for his presentation, and subsequently we open up the discussion.
Thank you so much, Satyajit sir. It's always a pleasure to be a part of a session which you are also a panelist of. So once again, on behalf of ISECT and the Atal Incubation Center RNTU, I would like to welcome all the attendees who have joined us from India and abroad, including Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and other countries. As Satyajit sir said, this is a series of inspirational stories, particularly in the area of social entrepreneurship. And we thought that, there's no better time than current time to talk about such stories, to celebrate such successes who have emerged from India and who are not just solving problems, but they're also solving it at a scale. So I am very happy that we are kick-starting this season with Mr. Hasmukh Rawal, who's the MD and co-founder of the MyLab discovery company from Pune. All of us, now know Mr. Hasmukh Rawal as one of the, primary innovators who have emerged over the last 2 years. And I'm equally excited to hear about the journey which they took, hear about the challenges and opportunities which they discovered, and how did they really, go about setting this up to where they are today. And as sir was saying, all of us would have seen full page ad and many other marketing collaterals which are successfully celebrating, and rightfully so, the fact that an innovation like this has come up from India, and it is a homegrown innovation. And as we can all see, COVID or forms of COVID or forms of viruses are here to stay. So rapid testing has emerged as one of the chief, make or break parameters to break the chain and to slow down the impact of COVID. So there could have been nothing better but a home testing solution which reduces your dependence on RT-PCR and antigen tests, and which also shortens the cycle from, we've all been through the second wave, you had to wait for 7 or 8 days, and that complicated the matters. But we will come to that. And quickly, as sir was saying, I'm also very happy that, being an entrepreneurial journey ourselves, we are a part of these sessions, and we are a part of this platform, which is celebrating social entrepreneurs. Our founder, Mr. Santosh Chaubey, is a noted social entrepreneur of India. He's an Ashoka Fellow. He is also the Schwab Social Entrepreneur of the Year. And we always find ourselves very excited when anything of this sort happens. So the other opportunities also where we are working in association with Satyajit sir and the Tata Institute are also a step in that direction. Finally, I would say COVID on one hand has been a massive human tragedy. On the other hand, we've all seen that it has accelerated the process of innovation across industries. The industry from which we come from, education and skilling, is going through such a flux and is going through mind-boggling level of changes that we are having trouble, keeping pace with the kind of technology disruption which is happening. And the same has been the case in all the other industries. So, this is the period where the entrepreneurial stories and the new age innovation is coming up, and we're all here to get inspired by such a story. So I once again welcome all the attendees to this session, and I would now like to hand it over back to Satyajit sir and Mr. Hasmukh Rawal to take the session ahead and take us through their journey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Siddharthji. Thanks for the inspiring opening note. And I think there cannot be a better way to start this season of talks, than listening to the story of Covishield. So it's my privilege to introduce Mr. Hasmukh Rawal, who is the Managing Director and co-founder of the company MyLab Discovery Solutions. In fact, one of my friends, who is a very active member of SEED, wrote a message to me when he learned that we are organizing a session on 23rd by Hasmukh. He said he's a real hero. Okay, so great. So want to see the hero again. Okay, so I think much more than the picture of Akshay Kumar, we would like to see Hasmukh, your picture, your innovator's picture, right? So just a lighter moment. Okay, so but we know why we need some good faces to show when we talk about that. So Hasmukh, I had a chance to visit Hasmukh's office once. And we had, though we had a short interaction, but very energetic team, very inspiring organization. Basically, Hasmukh is a biotechnologist by training and turned entrepreneur and hold postgraduate degree in medical biotechnology. He has very profound experience in commercialization of development of applied molecular diagnostic solutions, and drives the product strategy and new innovation in MyLab. He closely manages and interfaces with external stakeholders, and he has a deep knowledge, understanding of the diagnostic market, if I put it in that way. So who understand where is the technology needed, how the technology should move. And I remember I had quite a few interactions with him on Zoom with a different forum, and how he looks at the technology moving forward in diagnostic. I think that's the interesting insight which he brings in. And there is no doubt that he has to lead the way. He has to be one of the leaders, lead the way in diagnostic, which is needed at this point of time. And I remember 2020, Actually, there's a time actually I requested Dr. Premnath to introduce me to Hasmukh. When we heard that the PathoDetect, if I remember the name correctly, was the first thing which came about just after the COVID became, I would say, is a big sort of crisis before us. I think I don't know, surprising that how somebody can do it so fast. Okay, so it's not doing so fast. Actually, there's a lot of journey behind it, lot of hard work, a lot of commitment, and a great team. I would say great innovative team. I think that makes it happen. And it's not surprising. I remember a couple of sessions, Hasmukh said that we are working on easing out the testing process, taking it to the people, rather people coming to the testing centers. And he said, we'll take the center to them. Okay, very profound articulation. And that's what happened. Actually, now we see Coviself has done that. It's available. It's very easily available and easily doable. I think that's the interesting story which we are going to listen from him. And interestingly, COVID is other than COVID and the diagnostic solution. Hasmukh is also a cricket player and he loves traveling. So that's a wonderful, that's a fantastic aspect of his personality. I request our audience to kindly post your questions in chat box. I'll keep a track on the questions. And we'll begin with having a presentation by Hasmukh. And then I have some set of questions. Even Siddharthi and Deepak can also ask some questions. And we'll take up some questions from the audience as well. So we make it more conversation for 90 minutes. India time, we started at 4 o'clock. India time will end at 5:30 p.m. So over to you, Hasmukh, and thanks for joining us from Pune. And we look forward to listen to your presentation and your discussion with us. Over to you now.
Sure, sir. Thank you, Satyajit sir, Siddharth sir, and Dr. Deepak sir, for allowing me to be part of this forum. And definitely, we are learning here. So there's so many things to learn from you as well. Of course, mostly towards social angle, how socially make impact. MyLab itself is a social impact company. We focus a solution which are customer centric, which solves the larger purpose, and anything which goes to masses, we are always interested in. So I think there are so many things to learn from you all, and this is why I'm so excited always to come and discuss and may understand the problems and solutions, work on solutions. So though I have detailed presentation, most of the slides will be very common to most of the teams, but I'll still take you through the journey, what we do, how we do, and why we think we will do it right. So as I said, we are focused on we focus on solutions which are high end, but has to make it affordable. So for us, any product which we want to launch, we are very clear. It has to be scalable. It has to address a larger problem for the masses, and we have to have some added advantage on the current solutions, which has to be very premium in terms of quality, efficacy, use, and multiple many more. We have products in human, veterinary, forensics, and we want to become world's #1 company in next 10 years to come on these lines. And we will take head on with many global players as well. What I feel is when we really solve the problem for the customer, I think then competition you should not be bothered about. And that's the philosophy of company. We focus on customer-centric solution. So making high quality diagnostic affordable to everyone on the planet, that has been the mission from day one. Before even MyLab started, we had this vision, and we could feel it because we have been working in multinationals. Most of the team members of MyLab, the key members, we have been working in multinational, and we were forced to sell this multinational solution to the masses in India. Now, most of these products are made for Western world. They are developed world solutions for developed world problems. They either are not economical, not affordable, or not addressable to masses for the country. And we knew that we just cannot dump the same solution which is made for them, which works for them, may not work for country like us. We have a regional problem, local problem, economy problem, and we have to have a local solution for local problems. And this is where we wanted to bring this high, and because we understand diagnostic very well, we wanted to focus on healthcare, and this is a domain, this is a strength. I think the numbers have changed. So far, we have touched more than 6 crore lives with the products what we have done. We have a single pie rule, whether it's a cost, it's a quality. We look into factor of 3.16 times improvement on the current solution. We have more than 100 plus products, and as we say today, we have more than 20 plus countries we have a presence. We have, like ICMR in India, we have CE-IVD approval and many of the multinational best regulatory approval for the products with MyLab. Now, whenever we work on any problem, we have simple pyramid rule. First, we focus on making a quality solution, because it has to be either equivalent or better than what quality solutions now available are. Then we move into automizing those, make it simpler, make it automizable. And on those same platform, then we try working on adding more and more solutions, so that the cost of capex, cost of running goes minimal. And ultimately, we reach our milestone where we make it affordable to everyone. So this is how we keep building product. It's not like on day one the product is made affordable or made for the masses, but we have to keep working on it. So from scratch to the final product, this is how we move. We are first in many ways. We have been first to now, right now, CoviSelf. Before also COVID, we have been first company to get an IDNet licenses for HIV, HBV, HCV, RT-PCR kits. Then we have C-approved kits. We have antigen. We are first to launch the RT-PCR test PathoCatch, PathoDetect, and we are first to launch the antigen test also PathoCatch, and now CoviSelf. We have also first to launch automation for the solution, and we have also launched automation mobile lab, which will detail you also. So all of these products are not because we thought they will work, because we knew they will really solve the problem for the country, and we kept working around this problem. We have across India recognition, be it national, be it international regions. We have been featured, and we have been supported by many agencies. I think it's thanks to these agencies who trust us, and they set the benchmark for us, so that we keep improving on the quality. As I said, we have products on infectious, oncology, genetic disorders, agriculture, veterinary, but we also keep working on new products continuously. It's a continuous R&D team. More than 50% of our team is dedicated on R&D resources, be it R&D, application, service, machine R&D. So almost around 60% of the employees who are on payroll of MyLab are either focused on R&D or on support function of R&D. We have also launched our automation now. We are again first in India to launch automation. Even RT-PCR tests, you might have heard, they are costly. They need a lot of manpower. They need high-end capex or machineries or lab setup. So we launched this machine called Compact XL, where we have removed the manpower requirement, so that it can be done by any small, little trained expert or technician in the lab. And the first benefit of it is the mobile van. Now we are deploying this to many of the remotest part of the country where the RT-PCR test reaching was impossible. We have partnered with the ICMR now, Government of India, where this automation is inside these vans. These are just like an ambulance, just park in the villages and get the testing done then and there only. So I think we are solving such problems. These kind of vans you will see at airports, many of the airports in India, many of the area where the labs cannot reach, we have made the lab available right then and there. Again, one of the product which we have recently launched is CoviSelf. Many of the times what happens in India or maybe in developed world, the international companies will bring the product, and then the companies or the people in country will follow them. They will try to make it, copy it, cost effectively make it. First time in India in the history of medical devices, it has happened that Indian company has launched or put the benchmark first, where the product is made by an Indian company, and now the international company will follow to the country. So I think it's a recognition for the India's effort in solving the problem. And as I said, local problems will be solved by local solutions. And I think this is where we are putting forward the benchmark. And I think we are raising the bar for the multinational players or maybe Indian players as well, that how they should think. And I think a healthy competition will have a better benchmark now when it talks about quality healthcare. And I think it's better for the country, because good kind of innovations will persist. People will like, even the competitors with us would like to make the benchmark to this level. And I think overall it will be win-win situation for everybody. Good healthcare will persist, good technologies will emerge, and the traditional way of looking at copy pasting the multinationals should start slowly vanishing out. So we have developed this CoviSelf test with the aim that why not people to do the test themselves. Now, this product itself will kill our current business. We knew very well that it will kill our RT-PCR business, or maybe lab in a box model, or labs which will mobile vans where we invested crores and crores of rupees. They might remove that thing as well. But we were very focused. Is something which solves the problem for the customer. We should invent that. We should not worry about what products it will kill within the company. I think each of the products have their own space. And with this, we started a first B2C product. Most of the diagnostic company in India are not B2C. They just manufacture and give to the labs or hospitals. Even the pregnancy kit companies, they don't manufacture themselves. They are the marketing companies, which are the pharmaceutical companies, and they take one of the diagnostic companies' product. First time a manufacturing company itself has directly come to a B2C market as well. So again, we have set forward an example where we can look into exploring the market. Though we are not expert of B2C, but it doesn't stop us from going and exploring the space. I think right partnership, putting the right partnership in place has been crucial, and we could do that in time with Coviself. Parallelly, as I said, we have first rapid antigen test, PathoCatch, first RT-PCR kit, VTMs, extraction kits. We have launched many more. Now, this all looks like a success story, but as I said, most of the, like I said, 90% of a journey was either proving something or making other people believe that, yes, this is a company in India which is trying to work. We had been struggling with the competition, facing most of the time multinational. There were no Indian players much when we have been working. Struggle on R&D, struggle on finance. It was a long journey. As I said, we started long back, somewhere around 2011-12, when molecular diagnostic was not even 0.5% of India's awareness. Leave the test. The awareness at pathology lab, even the common man were absolutely not aware what was RT-PCR, what is serology, what is antigen, what is antibody. Even the labs were not aware why molecular tests should be there. We started from there where we said, this kind of tests, which are high-end tests, but not affordable in India, if we make it simpler, can work miracles. With this vision, we started this. We started a lab with whatever funds we could have. We started trading activities. We started generating revenue. We started investing on the R&D. We started, though R&D lab started 2013-14, the first official launch under MyLab Discovery started 2015. We got approvals. We started developing tests. We started working on factory. We thought now once we have a good traction on the product, let's go regulatory wise. Let's get them product approved. The factory itself, which we made as per the international guidelines wise. If you visit that, you can see the effort and love we have put. Despite any approval in place, we wanted to do something which multinationals do at a large investment. But because we believed in this, we started working on this. We started working on products. Slowly started getting the results against whatever we have been putting. So we started activities somewhere in 2012. We thought in 6-7 months we will start getting the products, and by the time we got first tax, it was 2019. So instead of 7 months, we took 7 years to reach what we planned. But I think because we have been believing that this is something important thing to do, we could keep doing and keep pushing. As I said, we have now products in place which serve the problem for the country. We have been launching products continuously. We launched a different IDNAT and all those tests. Now we have home-based test B2C market. But it is not possible without the right team in place. I think all of this is we owe to the team. Right people, right place, right time, and with right motivation and ambition. I say the feeling of ownership in the team is very important. Most of the team members are there who are doing this job, their job right, and that's why we are able to enjoy this success story. So this are all I owe to the team, what we have. And as I said, we are a social impact company. We want to focus on solutions which serve the masses, and with this only we will keep innovating. We have launched the first extractor system. What we are planning to launch is to go global with a combined automated machine where anybody can just load the sample and get the PCR test done. We are just a little months away from the biggest launch. There's no company in the world which has this kind of simplified solution. We could start. We have been working on this project for last 4.5 years, and I say we are very, very close to the launch of first end-to-end machine where you can just keep it in a factory, just keep it in the lab, and load the sample and get the report on your own. Where machine does everything, no processing headache, no sampling headache. Then making that smaller, bigger, mid-level or high level would be the second aim. And we are also launching tests which can go home or go to the clinic rather than depending on the pathology labs or pathologists to do this. where you need an infrastructure investment or maybe a healthcare expertise, we want to remove that. And what we want to do is let the doctor themselves in the clinic have access to the test, or let the patient at their home should have access to the test. You solve the purpose, larger purpose, and I think that would be ultimate success story for the company. And as I said, we want to be number one in the world. It won't happen without serving the customers. So we have a customer target as well. We want to serve a total 1 billion people across the world by 2025. Yes, it's ambitious, but I think with the product line what we have, we will be there very soon. So we have also many products coming for newborn screening, for cancer diagnostics, and anyway, each of them have their own targets and have their own product milestones. And I think very soon we'll be coming with those. As I said, we are My Lab, where the name itself says it's your lab. Everybody can enjoy the testing at the convenience of their home, or maybe at their ease. So that's the name, My Lab, and we want to bring the lab as good as it's yours.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Excellent. Very crisp, to the point, and it looks like very simple, but it is not. Okay, it's not a straight curve. You showed that curve, right? It's a quite interesting journey. So, Hasmukh, I will open up the discussion before anybody comes in. Okay, I think because I remember in one of my sessions, Devarshi also came and he addressed one of my classes last year. I remember, and he's still a part of your team. So I was asking him, what is the core of the strategy? Okay, what works actually? Okay, success failure is a different thing. I think so. I don't want to glamorize success for the matter, because success comes with an investment not in terms of money, but a lot of commitment on the people, right? And he said the only thing which comes first is the team. I think teams first, and rest everything follows. Every story follows. So I would like to ask you the first question about team. In fact, you showed team and you said it's actually your lab. It's people's lab, right? That's a very profound expression. So how is the culture? Because team needs a culture. Team needs to work together for some common agenda. Okay, despite having different competencies, different preferences, and a lot of difference in the capability of the subgroups, etc., etc. But what brings them together as a culture, right? This thing's path-breaking thing, actually. It's not about Hasmukh Rawal alone. Okay, it's a shared vision, if I put it in that way. It's a shared innovation. So how that works? My first question is about the team, because I find that's inspiring. And I'm from long, I was thinking that I'll write a case study on you. I think now the time has come. I come back and write a case study on My Lab. Not glamorizing the success, but understanding the process of innovation, collective process of innovation. So how this team thing works in My Lab? What's your strategy on the team?
So the team doesn't happen overnight. This is what we have learned over a period. But keeping team motivated towards same goal, where there is no if and but. Once we decide that this is what we want to achieve, everyone making sure that everyone is moving towards that goal is very important. And that would not happen without sense of ownership, because you cannot just go and start ruling everyone and telling them what to do, what not to do. Once I think we all agree to one aim, I think it's the sense of ownership from there where we'll keep everybody moving, because there are 100 aspects of one product, maybe a product or business. So let's say when I talk about Covisel, it's the idea, innovation, delivery, sales, collection of payments, customer satisfaction. So each of them we need right people in place, right from manufacturing, QC, QA, and each of them should have the same vision that okay, we have to develop this product, deliver this many quantities, and this kind of service support should be there. So I think developing this factor of ownership in the team and then giving them the responsibility as well against the ownership, where they have the decision making power, they have their own judgment in saying yes or no to something, and taking charge of the things from there is very important. It won't happen overnight. You will have to find the right people who believe in something. Now, luckily for My Lab, most of the people who are here are pre-COVID times, where we have struggled the worst time. So we know that we have been sticking to each other when times were not right, because we believed in same story. So luckily we have the right people in place because we have went through the same issues over the journey, and that is helping us now as well. We keep developing new products, then we hand over to the other team. They start taking from there. By the time the same team starts working on new products, so I think this kind of cycle we have started inside the company, where one team hands over, after it goes to next level. So it will keep repeating again and again, and that is the reason we can keep innovating again and again.
Correct, correct. Fantastic. In fact, I remember Devashi was also saying that since the company deals with viruses and there is huge risk to the individual lives of the team members, right? And sometimes that they remain isolated. He was saying there are occasions when people don't go home for days together. I don't know whether it's days together or months together. Okay. How that it's not surprising, to be very honest. It must be happening, otherwise my lab would have not existed had it not been happening. So what I'm saying is how that happens actually, how that individual ownership happens, what is the process of doing it. Why I'm saying so, that's I think very fundamental to entrepreneurial success, when you bring people, bind people together. And these are cannot be written in the job roles. You can't write it that there could be an occasion when you will not go home. You can't write it in the job role, but people do it, right? So I'm very curious to know about this aspect, if you can explain, because you're dealing with virus and it's a huge responsibility to society, to self. Yeah.
To tell you a story, I myself is also part of the team here. For last 1.5 years, we hardly go one day in a week home, and again all come back, stay together. Again, we know it's a lot of work, and unfortunately, because pre-COVID, the key management team are still those people only who have to manage. We have to keep ball rolling. So we have to be here every time. A CEO works till midnight, 3 o'clock, goes to from the factory, goes back, wakes up at 8, again start going. And I think it's a routine now. Of course, we don't want our team to be tired in this. So we have started building tier B, tier 2, tier 3 people as well. But yes, I think it's a self motivation within the team, and it happened because we all believe we all can together do something which is far beyond the jobs would offer. Most of our team member, I'll say 80% of the management team member have come from multinational. Just to give you an example, Dr. Gautam, Debarshi, Rahul, all of the key members, which I would say they have left their job and joined at 1/3 of the payroll of what they could have got. This all happened because they believed in something which we have been working on. And I think when your heart are connected, then the job, there's nothing called job.
Absolutely.
It's the fun in the things getting done. And somehow that has happened. 4 to 5 years for us. Many people, again, we have burned our hands also. Many people came, just went there, work ended. But that's a part of the.
Correct. That's right. So there's a question on the chat box. Maybe I'll take that question slightly later because that's about challenges. But before we come to the challenge, we would like to understand the process, the journey. Okay, we'll come to the challenge question. So I'm just keeping that question slightly deferring that question. Siddharth, do you have any question?
Yes, one question definitely. And I would like to ask that. See, we all understand that the fundamental part of any entrepreneurial journey is to identify the right problem, right? And if we have identified the right problem which can be solved at scale, then we have a case at hand. So, I understand, my lab and the mission is very, very clear and very, very succinct. But on the other hand, diagnostic field in itself is quite a vast field. And leave aside, the COVID self, that's a clear need which emerged. I'm trying to understand what has been the process of this problem identification within the broad area which you have chosen, right? So does that work more on a gut feel or instinct level, or really there is a research and a more structured process which is followed to identify that within diagnostic, these are the 5 underserved areas where people are having a problem and we should develop diagnostic kits for that. I'm also coming from the point where during one of our first batches of mentorship and incubatees, we dealt with someone who was talking about developing a very cost-effective kidney health diagnostic test, and especially which can be delivered in rural areas and can preempt those kidney failure cases, which otherwise will land him up in an expensive sort of dialysis thing. So there are many use cases within diagnostic field, and then there is also an urban-rural, divide between diagnostic itself. So how is this process followed in my lab? What has been your experience?
So for us, as I said, we are number one customer-centric company. Most of the times, what we have seen is many of the scientists they try to believe on the products what they want to invent or they want to work on. They will develop a product and then expect that it would solve the problem. But most of the time, they will face the problem when really they go to market and try to promote the product. And that we have seen very, very closely for many of the products, because many of the times the innovators, when they start developing the product, they think whatever they're making will solve the problem and it will be just a blockbuster overnight. Instead of that, in my lab, as I said, we are very R&D driven company. 60% of our employee are R&D in R&D, but the decision will always come from management. And in management, we are most of the team is from sales background with the techno-commercial understanding. We are always close to the customer. We are in the field. We go to the labs. We discuss the problems. We understand exactly where they're lacking. What kind of machine? Let's say what kind of kit will be the right solution. What kind of machine would really solve the problem? We understand the challenge from them, and then let's throw this challenge to the R&D team. That okay, we make this kind of product. I would be sure to sell 100 or 1,000 quantities of this. It's not other way around where R&D comes and say, okay, this is the project, we'll develop this product and you guys go and sell it. It's always sales driven or customer feedback driven process where we are in the field. Let's say we developed a test called IDNAT. It didn't happen because we overnight thought it. Blood bankers told us that, okay, you guys are working in molecular, why not you develop this test, which otherwise made by Roche and Grifols of the world, but they are very costly, and also you need an automation to be made along with it. We understood the problem. We went to R&D team and discussed that, can we make this? But if you make it, it has to be accompanied with automation. It should have this kind of sensitivity. And then we start working on it. Other way around, if you would have made a test and expected a customer to purchase it, they would always say no. And again, this also, there's always a feedback customer loop. We made a product, we go to the customer, we will go for first 20 sites, understand from them, again go back, improve it. So this kind of to and fro will always be there. And I'll say if the feedback is coming from the customer on development of product is more important than coming from the innovator thinking that it would go and solve the problem.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great reminder to keep the customer's feedback always on front and keep that on priority rather than trying to build a beautiful product in which you believe. Building something which other people really want and love. So, yeah, and I can understand that's always the challenge, because you, with your team and with your gut feel, you would like to build something, and you then just get so lost, and you are passionate in building this that you just forget that whether it is going to even solve the problems or not. So
yes,
great. No, so that's a very good reminder of this insight. Thank you for that. And the other thing, at this juncture, my lab itself, there is a possibility where you might also be an incubator of sorts in terms of other innovators who are probably having an idea, but they don't have, you said techno-commercial understanding. That is the biggest challenge in terms of either the techno understanding or the commercial understanding, and very few people have that sort of blend which you have. You seem to have cracked. So have you tried this already, and are you open to the idea of letting anyone else who's got this insight and then they come and be a part of your lab and then develop their product and take it ahead?
So we are very, very open. In fact, we are always looking forward for opportunities. Right now, we're tying up with IITs. There are a few small companies who have come up with the product, and we are ready to incubate them. What we understand is we are always social impact based company where anything which can go to masses and solves the problem for masses, I think we will be very, very open to go all in. We don't want to go into the balance sheet, the projections and all that. We can always figure out later. It's something which by heart we feel can solve the problem. I think we'll be going all in for those. So we are open. I think through this channel also I'll say if anybody has any idea, even the idea, no product, but if we all think it can solve problem for our customers, we'll do it. Even to our team, I always tell, always think customer first. If a customer demands the product to be delivered on rocket jet, you invent a rocket jet. Don't ever let them complain about your solution. So if anything is going to solve, I think we will be the first people to go all in with the all preparation.
Wonderful.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll come in maybe a little later also again, sir. So back to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I see two hands raised in the attendees. One is Sajjad Ahmed and second is Reena Sen. I would request them to kindly write their questions in the chat box so that I can take them up. So I'll now. So kindly write your questions on chat box. We'll be mindful about your questions on the chat box. So I'll take the first question by Professor Jayashree Suresh. Professor Jayashree is the Vice President of our Group C, Society of Entrepreneurship Educators. And she comes from Chennai. And she herself has been an educator in the discipline of entrepreneurship. So Professor Jayashree is writing, how did you manage finance? And how do you assure the accuracy of results from the product? I think there are two different, one is more on the product side, the operation side, and second is the finance side. Maybe you can take whichever you want to take first.
So for the product, fundamentals are very clear in MyLab. We have to have a benchmark for ourselves. We will never compromise on any product coming out of our facility. And that's the unsaid, unbroken rule. Our R&D or our production have more rights than me to say no to us on any product. So quality benchmark is already there, where we always keep improving. Even not only we set forward the benchmark, but we keep what all things make a product good and what all things definitely doesn't make a product good. Not compromising on quality just by compromising on price or taking a vendor, changing the vendor is the worst thing you should do. So even right from the vendor qualification, vendor change, process change, we have stringent QC. Till the time we don't prove the benchmark of the quality, we don't allow a product to come out. I'll give you an example also. In the early time when we launched PethoDetect, we hardly planned for 10,000 tests. We didn't thought the pandemic will hit the country in such a bad way. Overnight, because after the approval, we were loaded with number of orders to the lakhs and millions of tests of orders. And the first batch only could plan after 25 days of the approval because it takes time for the raw material. We didn't plan anything. We only ordered same raw material, which comes from the best of the best supplier. And even after that, our first batch, we could not find the right result and we didn't let it out ever. It was a gold mine that time that we could have just sold it and get it benefited. There was shortage of raw materials where there were almost multiple 20 plus vendors who have approached us saying that, okay, just replace this, we have available. It's like a car. You get the order overnight, but if you don't have a tire if your tire manager don't have enough rubbers with him, he can't manufacture the tires. So even a small component not being there could compromise the whole product. And we have faced this multiple times. Never even an incidents where we have changed the product just because it was available, but quality was compromised. We have, for one of the component, which was most critical, we tested more than 80 suppliers. Still, we only qualified 2. And we waited for those 2 right companies to come. So that kind of standard we have. We have a simple saying in the company: if your parents are getting to get tested with the kit, this kit, what you guys are inventing should be the kit you should trust on. So with this intention only our R&D team works. Finance is, yes, as usual, is the biggest problem for any startup because if the investor want to invest in you, they want a big pie of your company in the early time, which as an inventor or as an innovator or as an entrepreneur, you don't want to give much to. And then in biology, things cost. It's very costly affair. That's why you won't see many companies coming in biology. I'll say it was a sheer passion what we had because we believed in this. There were very bad times. As I said, from 7 months, what we thought, it took 7 years for us to come with the first commercial product. And it was a hell of a journey where the second day we have EMIs to pay and we have nothing to go. I was maxed out myself. I could not withdraw any salary for almost 8-10 months. Most of our team, we could pay in cash because I could only arrange in cash. There was no source of payment. We have taken interest at loans at 26%, 27% of interest. But yes, this all happened because we stuck to each other. We believed that someday we will do it because this is the right thing what we are doing, and this is where you can see the success today. But I'll say it's the years of sticking togetherness by the members of the company, and that has made us successful today.
Great. So now I'll read out the question by Jaykant Pandey. That was the first question, in fact, of this session. And he's asking, what is the biggest challenge you faced in this journey, and how you have overcome it? Can you share some example? Of course, you shared a couple of examples, but now I think it's more extension of your previous answer. If you could share some
One is, of course, the
challenges.
finance, I think, biggest challenge for any company. Second would be inaccurate. And so many of the products we have been doing first in India. So we were not aware about what kind of regulatory compliances we'll have to take. We were not even aware what kind of pollution control board approval we need, what kind of facility license we need. And I'll tell you, we have prepared for a plant and we have submitted all the file, and overnight the regulation changed in next 2 months. So we went 2 years back just for the approval. So yes, there, and our first few batches for the test what we have been developing failed. We have learned under test license, we have learned that how to improve it. So not losing faith on what we are doing was very, very important, because there were time where we could just manage money for the last attempt and we got successful. But yes, we learned the lesson that how to do it right. And that is why for the COVID we came first company, because we have learned all the lessons. We have developed test for HIV, HCV, these are like RNA virus, same like COVID.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we very well knew how to do things right, and that made us successful.
Right. So to be first in the country is as a good driver, but actually it brings a lot of responsibility also, because there on many areas you are the first in the country, and that ownership of responsibility actually puts a lot of pressure on you and your team. I'm sure that's everyday pressure. Okay, so how do you manage that? कि नहीं मेरे को करना ही है, so करना ही है चक्कर में तो you are gone, right? So how that part is managed?
So it's a huge pressure. I think it's a huge pressure on all of us. Any product we do, our aim is to be first. Simple, straight, fundamental rule. You think first to innovate something on this, be it anything. In fact, when the COVID first detection kit came, the pressure was not on us that whether we'll get passed or not in the evaluation. We knew we'll get passed. We wanted to be first. I said it would be the biggest respect to my team if we come first. Coming second was not an option for us. And for any other products also what we develop, we want to be first ahead in time. And it is a lot of pressure in the team, but I'll say it is a positive pressure. You come and sit with anybody, we are happily thinking about ideas.
Correct.
20 of ideas, if we work on 20 ideas, only 1 or 2 works. But there's all 20 are new ideas. I'll say that. Many of them will not work, government will not approve, but we keep thinking and keep innovating.
Yeah. No, because I'm just visualizing the internal challenge is more than the external challenge, probably. Okay, so I'm just visualizing.
Tell me, हसमुख एक काम खत्म नहीं हुआ, आपने दूसरे 4 लाख के दे दिया.
Exactly. I can imagine that. I can imagine कि ठीक है वो तो हो गया, अभी अगला सोचो. अरे बाबा ये खत्म तो करो पहले, फिर अगला सोचो.
Now I am discussing 4 more projects with the team internally. I'm just saying अभी थोड़ा slow करो. I said no. You cannot stop the activity.
No, I can imagine. It's a huge responsibility, I would say. And when you feel responsible, the pressure automatically comes. It comes in a very natural way when you feel responsible. Yeah, Deepak, you have some question. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I was waiting for people to come up their questions, but क्योंकि ये discussion इतना interesting हो गया था, I thought I should pitch in between. वो आपने जो बोला मुझे, हर बार आपके माइंड में ये होता है कि हमें पहला बनना है, तो जब ये भावना होती है तो क्या कभी एंट्री बैरियर के बारे में भी प्लान किया जाता है? हाउ यू मेक श्योर दैट कॉम्पिटिटर आर नॉट कमिंग इन, यू विल बी गेटिंग इनफ टाइम टू अचीव समथिंग, हाउ यू मैनेज द एंट्री बैरियर थिंग फॉर द कॉम्पिटिटर?
यस, ये बहुत जरूरी है. अगर आप एंट्री बैरियर नहीं रखोगे तो you are like just allowing other people to enter on all your ideas and hard work of our R&D team. इस मामले में हम थोड़े स्मार्ट है. अगर मैं बोलना चाहूंगा तो we very well knew कि हम अगर PCR टेस्ट बना रहे हैं आज से 7 साल पहले, तो हमें पता था कि there will be competition coming very soon who can just make the reagents. So we said no, we have to raise the bar. We will make the machines, automations. Now only few companies in the whole world who have expertise in robotics, liquid handling, optics, and we are one of them. This happened only because we have been thinking it's not only about coming first, but as soon as, and that happened in COVID. Of course, in COVID, we are 7 years before our time. We have not expected. But what happened in COVID is, as soon as we launched the test, within next 6 months, there are more than 100 companies in India. Now, all of them might not be making it also. Might have, some of them might be just bringing and launching at a name, but there are Chinese players, there are Indian players, there are multinationals, and out of that 70 are new entrants who just are maybe from some other field or maybe pharmacy field. So the time we launched, people jumped in for the opportunity. Luckily, because we have already thought on this, maybe for other products 7 years down the line, we have been working on machines where we have closed down the solution for the customer. So we have went one step ahead. हमने कस्टमर को बोला ये आप ऑटोमेशन करो, आपको किसी का मैनुअल काम करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So it simplified the process. We went one step ahead. We launched antigen test before anybody will come. We knew very well antigen. Then now today there are 48 players in antigen business. We knew very well, so we went to Coviself, which is a self-testing kit. And as we know, competition will enter into this, and so we'll move one step ahead of this. So I think raising the bar on this is very important. Even in B2C market, अभी जैसे B2B market is different. In B2C, the customers are the direct users in this. We don't have a mediator apart from the retailer or maybe the online store. So to be one step ahead, we had to go online, big in marketing, big on advertisement. We have never been in that space ever. But if we don't do it, we'll be out. So even that, the innovation, even in that approach as well, that let's go fast in consumer market as a FMCG and look at this as a FMCG product and promote. So that's why you will say media advertise, paper advertise, and digital advertise now. So thinking ahead of time is very important. And luckily we have right people who think it, be it regulation, be it scale, be it quality, be it patent. We have many infringement around these lines.
Great. Yeah.
So I'll read out a question by Professor Vasudev Rao, my guru, with whom I worked at TAPME for many years, and he actually brought me the whole made me educator in entrepreneurship in the real sense. So he has posted a question. I'll prefer to read out Professor Vasudev Rao's question. He's asking that your diagnostic tool instrument works on a universal mode. Does it require calibration to different localities, countries, as if how to achieve that? I think this is a very practical question. Okay, does it need some localized calibration? Yeah.
Yes. So each of the instrument, when we make diagnostic machines, not the Coviself test, but the hardcore machines which are the robotics, they have inbuilt calibration tools, and that is expected to work whether I install it in US, in Europe, or in India. As we speak today, our machines are getting installed in US and Europe, and we are proving a metal to these countries also. Yes, it will need installation capabilities. Currently what we do is we send the people, we make sure that there is no bad feeling about made in India product in these countries. Slowly we will have to build a brand around the product.
Okay, fantastic. So there's a question, almost similar lines. There's a question by Sunil Chapa, and he's saying that why is it that we have very few companies from India in the diagnostic products, and why is that we have a quality diagnostic product from other developed countries than India, considering the fact that we have well qualified and competent human resources? Okay, so I think is it that to be the first is missing in that, or the more a scenario sort of reflection on the scenario?
Most of the diagnostic companies in India are always, I'll say, second mover, even including us. We have been second for NAT. We followed the multinational what they did, and now we are raising the bar and now moving ahead. But yes, you won't see that kind of aggression in the companies here because of the fact that I think there is a sense of satisfaction to the. I say 90% of the companies are satisfied with whatever business they generate by whatever products they make. And I think that stops them for thinking big. Most of their capacities are not big. Most of their product portfolio profile is not that big. I don't know why. I'll tell you the example. There have been more than 70 companies in diagnostic space in India. Nobody even thought in molecular. And we from nowhere, from life science background, we started working on molecular. While it was a common obvious thing that, okay, this is the next technology. PCR technology is something which these guys were the first to explore, then us. But I think most of the time it's a satisfaction by what products they are serving is there. And I think here the problem with India is price pressure is always there. The labs, they use the test. So just to give you a very common example, the labs don't say we don't mind whether it's from my lab or Trilab. It has to come at a cost because user don't know which kit is lab is using. So
Correct.
they just want to make profits, and to do that, it's a quality compromise. And again, to do quality compromise, then there is not
True.
much incentive for the guys to invent.
True.
So it's a whole cycle where we have to work somewhere on quality consciousness of the patients or users as well.
Right, right, right. Actually, something which is related to this a question posted by Jyoti Sri Loganathan. She's saying that thank you for the great talk. In order to be the first in terms of the product quality and other aspects, having a very good technical team is a must. So, what are the principles you follow while recruiting them? Again, going back to the same team thing which I started with, and what must have been the qualities you look for? So, how you create team? I think team is the core.
We don't see degree as a qualification in any of our interview, be it a management or be it R&D. Of course, exposure is important because let's say if you are looking for a high-end profile, the guy must have a good exposure of the technology because it's a hands-on training. But then we don't see that it must be PhD or postdoc. Even our lab heads are most of the lab heads are MSc, but with a great experience or exposure in the industry. So what we see is, I think one is technical capabilities. Second is ambition, where they want to stop in life. Are they satisfied with one job, or they want to learn more and more technology, have more challenging jobs? So what we see is people who are ready to opt for challenging jobs and want to do something out of their life. So after that, everything else follows. Just follow.
Okay. So that also creates competition for you. If the person is smart enough, he will set up another MyLab.
I think it's not just the product what will define my lab. It's the product, people, process, and the vision is very, very important.
I know.
Which product to make, which not to make, and how to promote, how not to promote. So there are many aspects for a successful company.
No, I think when you contribute to this ecosystem, and if there are smart people who are thinking of solving other problems, I think there are many problems to be solved. I'm sure you'll not mind if people do that, isn't it?
No problem. I think I'll say people should come collaborate with us. If not, they should invent themselves. A healthy neighborhood is important for a healthy lifestyle for all of us.
Correct. So I have a question. Actually, that's my hypothesis as well. That being Pune is a big advantage of this kind of technology innovation dash market. I think in our strategic management language we call it as knowledge spillover effect. So do you see that's a big advantage for you?
Yes, it is. It is indeed. I'll say most of the R&D team is from National Institute of Virology, NCC, National Chemical Research Institute. We have NCCS, Pune University. So it's a hub of biological R&D centers in India. Yeah, maybe even pharmaceutical. We have a biotech park just next to us, 15 minutes away. So we can attract talent out of these centers. We have institutes, universities where we can work on projects. And also there is a business immediately because being a metro city, whatever you make, there are at least few customers where you can sell and test it. Yes. So there is a testing trial side, there is a R&D attraction, manpower attraction center as well. So I think it's a good to be in Pune and develop these kind of solutions here locally.
So Siddharth, do you have any question?
No, I mean, I do have a very generic question, and I think this is a question which everybody is pondering over right now across the country. And since you have been associated with this entire pandemic which has been playing out, and you have also observed it closely. So really, I mean, how long are we in it for? I mean, is it 3 years, 5 years? Are we, looking at a certain definite third wave, or can it be avoided? Are we also in for fourth and fifth wave? And really, I mean, working on viruses, as a layman, we keep hearing that as the virus mutates more and the variants increase, this might go into a never-ending cycle. And are we then looking at, yearly vaccinations in the coming years for the population? So these are some of the scenarios. I'm sure nobody has a clear answer, but we would certainly like to have your views also on this.
So yes, COVID virus have behaved very abruptly, unlike any other virus. The basic reason is it's very stable virus. Like there was a pandemic of swine flu, you might have heard Ebola, Zika, but they were short-lived because after that the immunity either developed or they become unstable over period. But COVID itself is a very stable virus, and what it does is it, because of its multiple, so every time it enters your body, it makes billions copies of itself. So out of those billions or trillions of copies and billions, millions of people it will infect, one or two strains will become a little different than the older one, which are maybe more beneficial to the COVID itself, as because they have to also prolong their progeny as we do by breeding. But then they get added advantage of, let's say, infection rate, in terms of invading the immunity, in terms of the way it will reach by a small distance. So yes, it will continue happening. That happens with every virus. It's not only with COVID. It happens with HIV also, which stays in your body for long and try to kill you forever. Try to go away with you only. So that's a natural property of the virus. And if you have seen the flu in US also, there is a tradition in multinational, well, most of the developed world, there is a tradition to take a flu shot every year. So by the time we are not looking at around 60 to 70% of our people vaccinated, we will always be in the verge of third or fourth wave to come in. But yes, after 60 to 70% people in the country are covered over vaccination, then it would eventually start reducing. Yes, there will be small spikes here and there, but need not to worry. What I would also try to tell all people is get vaccinated as early as possible. It will definitely prevent you from hospitalization or death, and that is most of the time we are worried about. We are okay with normal mild symptoms or headache or cough, but avoid hospitalization and maybe if death by getting it vaccinated as early as possible.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So
Yeah, that makes it clear. Yes.
no, in fact, that's a common citizen's question. I think everybody has this question. Okay, so when are we going to be normal? We don't know the new normal. What you're saying, what is that new normal? Nobody knows actually. You're saying there will be some new
From 6
normal.
months to 1.5 year, I think we should see those timelines.
Right.
If things goes all good within 6 months, I think we all are safe.
Okay.
Maybe worst case scenario, I'll say 1.5 year till the time we take charge and control of this. Worst case
Okay.
scenario would be 1.5 year.
Okay.
Best case would be 6 months.
Okay. So my question is something which is very, very much related to what Siddharthji was asking. That in the entire, of course, my lab is a reasonably young company. It's just getting close to a decade actually. But based on your earlier professional experience and my lab experience, have you seen such kind of pressing need, urgency, I would say, okay, and urgency of a very unique kind, as I visualize your organization and I visualize the need actually, and my understanding is more, maybe I would say more amateurish in that sense, that the sense of urgency is too high. I think that's one thing. Okay, and resources are constrained. Every type of resources are constrained. Even the funds are not flowing very easily, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you know more than what I'm saying. And second thing is your visualization about the solution is, I would say, multidimensional. So you're not saying, okay, only a molecular biologica X swab, okay, something like that, right? You're also visualizing a machine, okay? And so you're the hardware technology related, etc. I'm looking from the technology value chain perspective. So hardware will come, to uska software bhi aayega. And so on, right? So there is a sense of urgency. I'm seeing two kind of pressures actually. Huge sense of urgency. Okay, it need to be done. It need to be done in multiple ways because the capacity, the huge capacity constraint, hospital, pathological, etc., etc. And your way of looking at the problem is having multiple pieces. Okay, it's not very one piece solution. You want to make many things work together, right, in a different way. So what is your experience so far in that, and how do you resolve it? So it's a very complex puzzle, I would say. So how you explain the puzzle? I'll not ask you how you solve the puzzle. How do you explain the puzzle?
I'll tell you how I look at and how I have made a habit to the team on this. So luckily we have a good envisioning capacity. That's what I would say, because many of the companies, what they don't see today, we are already working on it. And now we definitely believe that these kind of solutions will work because they are customer centric solutions. So once we zero down, okay, this, and it's not one solution at a time we are working. Let's say there are 4 or 5 different solutions. Now, as you rightly said, for hardware, We need optics, we need robotic guy, we need software team to collaborate, R&D team to work and check the enzymes and machines on it. So there's so many aspects for every product where you need to have people around. But what we do is simply we are like as good as a kid. We get so excited inside the whole team that everybody is like, how soon we can bring it on table. So everybody is on it, and it's just like a kid that once you see a toy, you just want it with you as early as possible. So I think once we envision a product, we everybody in the team gets so excited, and luckily that is a culture in the company, that we work day in day out to make sure that this kind of products work. As we speak today, we are working on machines, we are working on business plans. So it's like, to just give you in simple way, it's like a rangoli dots. I can vision the bigger picture. Right now I'm getting the team to just make those dots ready, then I can have a bigger picture very soon, which would be produced to the entire team. But that's what we see. I can envision the picture, but to do that, you have to have that missing dots at the right place. So we are getting that done.
Okay, okay. And does anytime your project demands technology acquisition or technology transfer from other agencies? So that sense of urgency has to be understood by the other agencies also, I'm sure, right? How that negotiation happen? I'm asking more a business question from technology collaboration.
So kind of discussion I lead for maybe technology tie-up, having the right team or right company on board to get it done. So this is kind of thing which majorly I lead in the company. Along with, of course, there's a technical team, there's a commercial team. But what I do is I want to make sure that every stakeholder in the decision making is getting something out of this, and that would give them motivation or incentive enough to come on board as well. So yes, we have to have many tie-ups. There are scientists who might not understand the commercial aspect of it, and they'll just stick to it. They'll thinking that this is so big, and you are just giving me only little bit of pie. So to convince them that what kind of things we both have to put online, and to get those things done is one important thing. Secondly, once the do's and don'ts or roles and responsibilities are planned, then to follow those to make sure that they are motivated enough to keep performing those milestones.
Absolutely.
But what I do is I make sure that till the idea, partnership, till execution, I manage. Then we hand it over to the team below, and we work on new concepts.
Correct. Actually, it's a multiple stakeholder engagement and a huge responsibility with all the shared responsibility.
Happy is very important. I think everybody in the partnership should win. There should be no single winner in this. And I personally make sure that once we commit, we obey the partnership terms.
Perfect. Great. So we have one more question from our colleague, Professor Purushottam Bang. He's a director of RV Institute of Management in Bangalore and also joint secretary of our organization C. This question, I'm just reading out his question, that do you perceive threat of acquisition from bigger companies? Okay. Extension of what Deepak was asking before, a few minutes back. Yeah.
So we are not worried or bothered about multinational at all. To be very honest, they are giants today, but very soon we will also be there by any means. We have to make sure that we reach those milestones. And I think here we are here not for the money. Money would have been the reason I would have been happy by last year only, by whatever the success we got. I think we are hungry for something big for the society, and we are here for the name rather than fame or money. We want to prove something to the world that we could do or outperform the multinationals. So till the time we don't go there, we won't stop. We are not worried about acquisition or short-term opportunity.
Excellent. That's very entrepreneurial statement, I would say. Okay, that's the way it should be. So maybe since our target time is 75 minutes, we are reaching very close to 75 minutes. But I would like to sort of tell us, and when I say tell us, of course, I see one more question in Q&A box. I'll read that question. Let me take the question first, and then I'll ask you my question. This is a question by Brahma Prakash Petiaji. How do you create a distinctive position of your diagnostic products in the customer's mind, using which business model to have longer lived advantage? So yeah, it's a more business question actually. Yeah.
So just to give you an example, like one of the threat and how we converted that into opportunity. So as we launched the RT-PCR test, most of the labs wanted the product because they wanted to serve the COVID testing thing. But as I said, within 4 months, there are more than 200 companies in India who sells this product. We started at 1/4 price of multinational. Then there are people who came at 1/2 price of us. And again, we could match till the time we have to sustain a good company sustainability thing as well. Now, every company has to survive to keep innovating. And that is very, very important. The time I just start dropping my price, I will start compromising on quality or innovation. And we don't ever want to go in that space. So there was a time where after a point we knew very well we cannot go any rupee below that, because that would unnecessarily stop all our focus on real work, and just competition will take our energy and space. And we knew that they are compromising on many aspects. Without that, a quality level of this kind of product cannot come. But as I said, the infrastructure doesn't want that. Once a product is there in the market, the user are not bothered, the labs are not bothered, or nor anybody. So we knew the system will not convert overnight to us. So what we started doing is we started partnering with the labs forever. We went to the labs where they are focused on developing a solution. We help them on infrastructure against a long-lasting partnership. By doing this, we have a permanent customer in place. We work with them for support, application support on time, approvals for those labs on time. So it's called the Powered by iLab project, where we go help them in infrastructure, help them on running the test. Against that, they tie up with us for long term. By doing this, we stop competition entering, we help the customer grow, and we take a pie of the market. And tomorrow, when I launch more and more products, I have a ready-made 100, 200 centers across India who have my setup. And this is only possible because we invented the machine which minimizes the workflow lab requirement for the customer. So building product over product and building the ecosystem is very important. Otherwise, you will be just one another supplier for the customer.
Correct. No, eventually, I'm also seeing, in fact, that's the phrase some of us use, that time is becoming a currency, actually. So anything which makes time optimized, I would say maximized in terms of utilization, is something which is needed very badly now. In addition to the technological advancement and price competitiveness, I think that's coming that's felt very necessary at this point of time. So with this, I think the scenario has also changed. It's not only the COVID has impacted us, but otherwise also we saw the technological movements going differently last 20-25 years. Okay, and there was a phase when, because a couple of occasions I was there in a conference when Professor C.K. Prahlad was there. You were alive then, and we were articulating together that probably technology is driving the business rather than business drives the technology. And this debate is still on. Academicians, they keep debating that who is driving whom, I think sometime, and we have both answers handy. But what I'm saying is the whole narrative of entrepreneurship has changed drastically in last probably 25 years, or maybe last 15 years more, especially when internet became the norm. And a lot of us are actually residing on internet as a base technology on which the whole profiling of business models and other technologies are residing. So my question to you, Hasmukh, and we want a very, I would say, very practical answer, because you're a person of practice. How do we educate entrepreneurship? Because education is needed for a simple reason, right? The way we educated people on entrepreneurship, I think time has changed, right? That's not the way to teach entrepreneurship. I think the only way to teach entrepreneurship used to be writing a business plan, and we know business plan sometimes are drastically falsified. And I'm sure you would have not written business plan first. Okay, you have done something which you need to do. Business plan came much later. So how to teach, how to approach the whole subject of entrepreneurship for the youngsters in the country? Opportunities are huge. There are multiple problems to be solved. Academic institutions, universities have to come on board. Okay, how do you, what's your approach? What's your suggestion to teach? Because this is a forum of educators. So what do you want to tell to the educators?
So I think for the if I want to educate the new budding entrepreneurs, I think one of the most important aspect would be being social. I feel it's not the old generation method where one business was managed by a family and then it runs in the families. That era has gone already, or maybe it's on the verge of going. You need right equal-minded people to come together and achieve big things together. It won't happen without one use of technologies. You have to adopt or be ready to change. We have adopted from RT-PCR test to antigen test because it solves the problem. And that's very, very important in today's world. If you want to keep everything with you, and if you're not ready to share the benefits, I think you'll not be able to generate a bigger business. You might run a business which is for yourself, but that cannot be an entrepreneurial business. If you really want to make an empire, you have to start learning on sharing the benefits. So share the problems, share the challenges, and share the benefits together. It's not like we want to keep all the pie of success with you and that's the problem will face everyone. If you expect people to come and help you on the problems, you should be ready to share the benefits as well. So I think that mindset should be ready. And if you incorporate this kind of mindset where the adaptability is there and sharing adaptability is there, adaptability to the technology and adaptability to sharing, I think that would solve problem for many of the budding entrepreneurs.
Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, anyway, we have taken a good amount of time. It's more than 75 minutes since we began the session. And I really appreciate your time, your commitment. And once again, thank you, Hasmukh, because anytime I reach you out and not a single occasion you said no. So I'll keep doing that. I'll keep bothering you. Okay, and every time I listen to you, new questions strikes me, and certainly I would like to document a case study on your company. I do it with a very selective way. Unless I find the story interesting, I don't write case study. So I think more I interact with you, I find more dimensions to look into so far as the entrepreneurship as a discipline is concerned. So thank you very much. Thanks for sparing time. Thanks to Saurabh also in the back end. He was supporting a lot, consistently answering my questions, consistently following up with me. And of course, we thank Siddharth, ISECT and RNTU, AIC for agreeing to partner. And we need partnership because C as an organization doesn't have any resource. We pool our resources together, and that's what we make it happen. So this is also very important. And thank Deepak. Actually, Deepak has been spearheading the whole backend activity very silently. Deepak, would like to say some last words before we close the session?
Yeah, so I would like to thank Hasmukh for his time and sharing his journey and experience, that how he always aim high and achieve high. So there is a big inspiration for all the entrepreneurs and all the attendees today. And we would love to keep in touch with you. We would like to have you in our incubation center so that our incubators can learn from you more. They can engage with you more. Oh, it would be our pleasure to have you whenever the situation is good. We would love to have you here. And thank you for your time.
Great.
So pleasure in my
that's amazing. We had a very productive time. So if all of us agree, we can close the session. So Siddharth, we'll close the session now.
Thank you so much from my side also once again, and from the entire AIC team from ISECT for having such an inspirational story today. And we look forward to more such stories, and we look forward to inviting Mr. Hasmukh whenever the situation permits to our incubation center and interact with incubators, not just from our incubation center, but from this region on the whole. I'm sure many people already find an entrepreneurial hero in your success, and they would love to interact with you in person. Thank you so much.
At the end of the session, all of us feel that we got 100 calorie extra looking at Hasmukh. So he transfers calorie to all of us.
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing personality. So thank Hasmukh. So 2022, I'm sure we are going to have another public session, and we'll see another great innovation hitting the market, impacting different things. And of course, I will keep bothering you. I'll keep bothering you. I'll keep inviting you and keep meeting you in Pune. Thanks for your time. Wonderful to have you. Great. So we'll close the session now. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone. Thanks all the participants for participating. It was amazing session. Very good question. Very active participation. And we'll continue this series next month. Most probably we'll have a group of speakers from Nepal. They will come and talk to us. and we'll keep rotating speakers. Maybe sometime speakers from Bangladesh and Sri Lanka also. I'll connect with my friends from those countries and try to bring some inspiring story from those countries as well. So see you then, and you'll keep getting the communication from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.